So thank you for staying, like I said, and thank you to Eon for having me here today. So my name is Christy Taberner, and I'm Faculty of Health Sciences at Mohawk College, which is in Hamilton, not Toronto, but very close. But I don't know if you know what's going on with the Raptors, but I'm sure you do. But we have like Raptor Nation happening, and we're all pretty much as a country obsessed with basketball right now. So what's that? We the North, that's right. So it's a pretty big game tonight for us. Okay, so about Mohawk College. So yes, we are in Hamilton, which is about an hour west of Toronto on a good day. Although our traffic is very similar to your traffic here, I will say. So I was well prepared to drive when I came here. I was like, okay, this is just like Toronto, I got this. And so we have approximately around 32,000 students that come through our college. We are leaders of colleges, and we have a focus on health and technology. So it's a pretty good fit for this conference. Just going to grab some water. Okay, so about the School of Health. In the School of Health, that's a picture of where we work. In Hamilton, that's the building up at the top. That's my building. It is on the McMaster campus, which is a university campus in Hamilton. And then the picture down below is on the inside. I think it looks like a cruise ship. It's very pretty on the inside. It's very inspiring to be there. And in this facility, we deliver both full-time and part-time programs. But we deliver diploma level and undergraduate programs in the area of health sciences. And so we have 3 strategically aligned program clusters, and those include allied health, health studies, and nursing. So I myself am an occupational therapist, so it's really nice actually to have other occupational therapists and therapists here. But I'm uniquely placed because I'm teaching primarily in the nursing program, which makes me not always well received sometimes, but I try to put my nursing hat on as much as possible. So here's just a representation of all of the different programs that we teach. You can see we have quite a few. And in the allied health, we have the CBT program, which is very popular, a lot of cardiac diagnostic programs. Medical radiation science program is one of our collaborative programs, which means that we work with McMaster. Our students graduate with a McMaster university degree as well. And we also have that on the nursing side. You can see we offer the BSCN program as well as the practical nursing and the PSW. So what would you call probably a PSW here in the U.S.? Nursing aid? Do you have nursing aides? Okay, yeah. So they're like they're increasingly doing more and more in Canada. I'm not sure about how that is here, but their scope of practice is really, really increasing. And so we are under a crisis of trying to get more and more students into that program because they're so needed. Okay, so why are we here today? So we are here today for me because we are talking about interprofessional learning, which was part of our health sciences strategic plan. You can see number 2 there, is to build leadership in interprofessional learning and expertise. And we are, as a college, one of our priorities is to promote quality interprofessional learning. And so I can't remember who else mentioned this earlier today. I can't remember her name. She was sitting on the panel. But one of the things in medicine is that we do very much get trained in silos, and yet it's expected that we know how to work together as a team. And so we have made it one of our top priorities to make sure that every student has exposure to some sort of interprofessional experience so that they do learn how to work together to provide holistic care. So just a definition up there to define what interprofessional education is, and really I highlighted 2 of the important words that I think. So improve collaboration, and of course our bottom goal in healthcare is always to improve quality of care, okay? So we are very focused on that. So the benefits that we feel of providing these experiences for our students is that they'll in the end, they'll be better healthcare providers, they'll have increased communication skills, and they'll just have better empathy of how we all relate. I mean, I'm not sure about if there's any practitioners out there, but we're very judgmental of each other in this world a lot, and in healthcare in particular. I know I've met someone who's a speech language pathologist. Everybody's like, well, what does that speech language pathologist really do anyways? We have this kind of, I don't know why, but it happens in healthcare. And so we need to really understand what each other do so that we can see and know of each other's values to the team. One of our biggest challenges, although we know that we have to have these IPE experiences for our students for accreditation purposes of our programs, we have a heck of a time getting our students together. All of our students are in different locations. They're on clinical placements. They have very intense schedules because most of our programs are condensed. And so physically trying to get the people together is our biggest challenge and remains our biggest challenge. So we went looking for a solution, and because Superman wasn't really available, I looked, but Eon happened to be available. So we had just started our partnership with Eon, and it's a wonderful partnership that I'm just learning more and more every day as a faculty member myself, who's actually on a different campus than where our Eon Center, our AR/VR Academy is. So I'm kind of about a 15-minute drive away from where our Innovation Academy is, but we are working with Eon. We've got an AR/VR development studio now, a virtual showcase demo facility, and we've been applying actively for some funding to do these type of projects. So I think we're having our opening in 2 weeks. Is that right, Frank? 2 weeks. Big day. You're all welcome. Okay. So we applied for some funding. I have this amazing dean that I work with, Wendy Lawson, who's phenomenal and always out-of-the-box thinker. This is how fast it went. And I think this is really relevant to understand the scope and delivery of how we did this project, because timing was very tight. So those of you who work in institutions like I do, you know all about year-end funding, have to spend it before fiscal, et cetera, et cetera. So we had an opportunity to apply for some funding. That happened in December. We found out we got funding December 22nd. Then we went on Christmas vacation for a good few weeks. Then we come back in January. Faculty in January, new semester, not a good thing. We're all, stressed out, running around trying to get our courses loaded and stuff like that. Not a good time to talk to us about being innovative. But anyways, we did manage to have a stakeholder feedback group during that time. By February, I think probably I was involved in the initial stakeholder feedback. By February, I was pulled in as, Christy, you need to make this happen. So that's kind of where I started to come in. And then, of course, we had to have it really quickly turn around. So we went like this a little bit, like, yeah, this is so exciting. And I was like, oh, let's get busy. And then it was like, oh, my gosh, what are we doing? And why is everyone looking at me to know how to do this? So I'm going to talk to you about my journey today as a faculty member, adopting this experience and this technology. And definitely it has been a journey. I did not have really a compass. I didn't really know where I was going. I'm a healthcare provider. I do have experience in app design and development, but the AR/VR world was new to me. We had very tight timelines, and we have a lot of ideas and a lot of people that wanted to give their ideas, which is great and also challenging. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about my key takeaways from this experience, and hopefully I have had the opportunity to talk with several of you here as educators as well. I hope that I can show you a little bit about what we went through to adopt some of this technology. So my first takeaway, my first learning moment is that a shared vision of what we're even talking about is really important. So all of us that were put on this team, we had to know exactly what we were trying to achieve, what was even possible within this world of AR, VR that people talk about, what was within scope or out of scope, and did we have any boundaries? Because when you start talking about this AR, VR world, this is what some of my faculty were thinking. Oh yeah, we'll make a game, it'll be good. Be very exciting. And then some of my faculty were like, yeah, it'll be great. We'll be like dancing around. And so there's a big difference between those two types of scenarios. And we had to kind of, make sure everybody was on the same board. So that's my first takeaway is make sure when you're working with faculty in particular that they know what they're looking at. What are the potential design possibilities? That's within scope, given the budget that you have to work with. So that's our first takeaway. My second takeaway, which is one close to my heart, this is where I've done a lot of my research, is around design process. The product is very important, but the process is just as important. And in a fast turnaround, you don't always have time to incorporate a robust design process. So on our design team, we obviously need graphics, we need software experts, subject matter experts, which seem to be in abundance in the university and college environment. But you know what we lack? Project managers. We don't have a lot of those to roll it out and keep us on tight timelines. And so my question is, well, who's going to facilitate this design process? Is there a process, and who's going to facilitate it? And I was speaking earlier to my other Canadian colleague about what I refer to as the digital translator. So this is what I've coined. And this is a person that's very, very essential. And this is a person that speaks both languages. So they speak the language of, for example, in my case, healthcare. So they understand the environment of healthcare. They understand some of the subject matter expertise, but they speak the language of technology. They might not speak both languages robustly, certainly as much as, the technology people in the audience, but they speak enough that they can connect the two groups and have them communicating effectively, like, oh, I understand what you're saying. Right, I understand that's a limitation within the design work. And so it's that digital translator I think we need to make sure we have on our teams. I've tended to play that role for some reason, but I'm lacking on the tech side, but I'm learning and willing to learn. So, okay. Number 3, timing and project management is everything. Go Raptors. I just plant that seed there. Okay. Just a little subliminal. Timelines and deliverables matter. So keeping us on a tight timeline in this case was really important. And when you have a lot of hands on deck and a lot of people involved, what tends to happen in my world in academia is like, oh yeah, I want to be on that project, and it's on the side of their desk, right? That phrase is, yeah, I'm involved, but it's sitting on the side of my desk, like meaning I'll get to it when I have time. But in the absence of nobody feeling like they own the project, who's there to catch the ball when it drops? Get it? Basketball? Okay. So nobody feels accountable. And then I was like, oh, yeah, someone else get to that. Oh, right, I'll put that, and we'll have another meeting about that. Oh, meetings. Who's going to get the work done? Who's doing the storyboarding? Who's going to sit there and get the developers what they need and pull the information from the stakeholders, get those YouTube clips made, get all that content made to input into the Creator AVR? We need someone to hold the ball. Okay. So number 4, inclusive design is essential, and I was really glad to hear are you like the developing team in the back? You had lots of developing questions in the back. Yeah, the tech team in the back. So I was excited to hear some of your questions about accessibility, because this is great. So at Mohawk College, part of our strategic plan and goal is to be an inclusive environment, and this is very, very, very important to us. You can see it's part of our Mohawk College core values that we are inclusive. We ensure a welcoming and supportive environment for all. So anything that we are creating has to embrace these core values. And so part of our commitment, we are trying to be by 2021 to develop a more diverse college, to have populations that's more reflective of our community, create safe spaces for our students, and to be culturally diverse as well. And so when we started to look at the designing of this tool, this was a factor that we really had to consider. And here's some other things that I cut directly out of our inclusivity policy at the college. And so gender-neutral assets with no ethnicity became something I wanted to consider and look into. Obviously, language was important. Human rights code, very important. AODA compliance, which is the Accessibility for Ontario Persons with Disabilities Act, to make sure that everything is fully accessible. And incorporating universal design was really important to us. And so because of that, I'm just going to show you a couple of features now of the tool. So we created, we have more in the works, and Catherine's been awesome helping us. But I just want to show you one of the features, and you can look at it later if you still want, maybe while you're drinking your wine, I can pull it up. So here are our shadow dancers, as I call them. Catherine and I named that. So this was in our one application where we were looking at the interprofessional educational team. So we decided, how do we do this? Do we do animations? No, that's offensive. What do we do? And so what we decided to do is that we would create these avatars with the colored scrubs of all of our students wear uniforms. So nursing wears the practical nurses wear baby blue, the BSCNs wear burgundy. Everybody had a color scrub. So we thought, okay, let's put the color scrubs on the students. But then we were stuck with this other piece, which was, what should they look like? And so we decided to make our shadow dancers, and in the app, they dance, they move. It's very interesting. And that's what came out of that. That was the design reason behind it. Now, who thinks this looks interesting? Well, that's nice of you, but I've showed a couple of my students, and they're like, well, that's boring. They're boring. They have no face. And I'm like, you're right, they have no face. So it was just one of those design challenges. We're not done. We're still going to do more on it. But I'm just saying that it was very challenging to us as educators to think, to get around that barrier as far as that, just thinking that all of the nursing students were female. I didn't want to assign a female identity to my nursing student avatar because that's very gender biased, right? So things like that were going through our head. So to that point, aesthetics and user interface matter, which all of you developers in the back definitely know. It has to have good aesthetic appeal. It has to be functional. It has to look good, right? It also has to accommodate multiple learning preferences. And all of these things will help with learner engagement. So here's another visual of some of our assets that were created by Catherine, you can see, and et al. And they were much more interesting because they had more of an environmental context. Shadow dancers you met, and then this is our other app, which was an actual video that we integrated into the technology, which my students that I've shown so far found this much more interesting. Okay? No surprise. Also, you'll notice it has closed captioning on the bottom, so win for the closed captioning. So universal design, what does that mean? It means that we have to design curriculum that is accessible to everyone, that meets all of our needs. We have something called AODA up in Ontario, which is our Accessibility for Ontarians and Disabilities Act. And we have a responsibility to make sure that we are meeting these needs and to be completely compliant by 2021. So what does that mean? It means closed captioning. It means font size matters and the ability to control it. It means physical accessibility. I know there's a lot of this and this, but can all people do that, right? No, they can't. That requires a certain element of fine motor skills as well. Text-to-speech, read out loud, things like that. All of these are tools that we're already using in most of our educational tools that we're choosing to create our content in now. And so we're working with Eon. I know they're very committed towards and making these changes. So it's exciting for us, and I look forward to that. Okay, so patient diagnostics here again. I know what I wanted to show that. So this is an entry slide, which you can see here, patient diagnostics. So this has one of the portals that you go in to kind of navigate the space, which is the patient diagnostic space, and understand who would be working in that context. And so this has written text to introduce it, but no sound, no voiceover to that. So we'd have to have both to make it compatible. This one here, I showed this slide just to give you a sense. Creator AVR again, which profession conducts this CT scan? So you see how the one medical radiation technology is too small. So again, the size of font will matter. Also the timing, do we need to customize that? Most of my students get 50% extra time on every single test they write. I don't know any other educators get there, but there's a lot of accommodations that we have to make. So those types of things have to be considered. And then this one actually has that voiceover you heard about, the beta fish, but then we don't have the closed captioning. But like I said, Eon is working with us on that, and we're really looking forward to that next iteration, and they're actively helping us figure that out. So it's great. Some more assets as well. So this is the second application that we showed. I showed you a little bit with Darcy, the video that the students like. So the first stage, they watch the video, and then the second stage, they have to navigate based on the question, and they click and drag. So it's a bit of a gamification experience where they click and drag who the healthcare providers would be that would work in that space. But it does require physical components. So then again, the occupational therapist in me is like, okay, what kind of switch access would I have to give for a student to be able to navigate this tool? Because if I'm going to use it with one student, I have to be able to use it with all. All right. So takeaway number 5, and this is a really big one for me as an educator. And so this is a community of inquiry framework. I'm not sure if you've seen this, some of you. I love this framework by Garrison, Anderson, and Archer. It's a framework that's been validated as an effective tool to help structure online learning activities. Okay, so as an educator, when I'm trying to create online learning content, I want to make sure that I'm looking at these component presences. Okay, so I want to make sure that that there's a social component, that there's a social presence within the community of learning, that there's a cognitive presence, and that there's a teacher presence. Okay, so cognitive presence is that the activity is helping them to construct new knowledge, form, make connections. The social presence is that they have that ability, this one struck out to me, that they have, that their full personality can be reflected within the learning environment. And that also that collaboration piece is important. And the teaching presence, which I do think Creator AVR does excellent job with as far as an online learning tool, which is providing that structure to the learning. Like, here's the lesson. Here's how to navigate the lesson. Here's the meaningful moments in time to connect with the content. And there is a fourth presence that's been adapted to this model by Dr. Cleveland Hines at Athabasca U, and it's the emotional presence. And I love that component as well. And we talked a little bit about that in your presentation, and looking at where's the emotional element to the learning activity, because that will inspire and engage students as well. So again, this is one of my favorite quotes by Tony Bates, is that technology is not the issue. How and what we want the learners to learn is the issue, and technology is the tool. So why is that quote so important to me? It's important to me because as a passionate educator who loves to teach, I get excited by shiny things all the time. How many of you get excited by shiny things? It's like, ooh, look at that, ooh, we could do that, ooh. That's me. But I have to always remember, what am I trying to teach? What is the skill? What is it that I want to accomplish? And then I look to the technology as the tool to help me deliver that. Don't get distracted by the technology because it's shiny and new, but know you're grounded in what you're trying to teach. And then the technology will help to support that. And it can do that by helping to transform the learning environment. And so my next steps, number one, I want to test and evaluate this, and we're going to hopefully be doing some usability testing with students. And number two, and I've been thinking about this all day, is that I don't know if there's any students here. And this is a thing for me. I mean, maybe some of your students, but I want to hear the student voice, because it's fine and dandy if I think I know what they want. But until they look at something and they contribute and they participate, preferably in the design phase, we're missing such an invaluable piece of information, right? So I would encourage you to always have a student sitting on your design team and hear their voice and get their feedback. I think it's really important. And also today, we've had lots of conversation around kind of adoption and resistance to adoption, but we can't be ignorant to the fact that adopting technology requires change management. It requires a process to move towards the adoption. And it's not faculty resistance. It's not us saying, oh, no, there's too much work, we don't want to do it. It's just change is scary for people. And when people get scared, they resist. It's just classic change management 101, right? So just acknowledging that that's the case with technology adoption and then having a plan for it. And certainly including your key stakeholders in the design process is an excellent strategy to circumvent that and to include them in the change process. So our next steps as well, Dr. Marilyn Powers and I are working on a decision-making support tool where we're just going to be able to help faculty navigate the decision as far as what is it that they're actually looking to create. Are they doing, is it AR, is it VR, is it immersive, is it all these things that we've been talking today, or do you just really need a good PowerPoint for what you're trying to teach, like low-hanging fruit? Let's just make this simple, really just helping them walk through the process so they don't get distracted by the shiny things, but know what they need. And again, I do believe the shiny things add immense value, and we need to be using them, But we need a little bit of support with this process as faculty. And that is it. So this is just another one of my famous quotes that I love. And again, an enabler of reality. So just making sure that we look at that technology. So I will not hold you up anymore. I just wanted to say thank you so much to Eon for having me and in letting me participate in this excellent learning experience. Frank, Catherine, and Josh, who's not here. This Josh is here, who also takes, the other Josh also. And of course, Wendy Lawson, my Dean, School of Health, and Dr. Marilyn Powers, which is our faculty lead in the AR/VR Center. There's my details if you have any questions. Thanks.